Hi, I'm Ms. Wolf. I'm going to give a Gemara lesson, typical of the type of Judaic studies lessons you'll see at my note. Today we're going to be talking about a section of the second parak of Makot, which deals with personal responsibility questions. When are accidents your responsibility? When could you have taken further action to prevent something from happening? When have you done all you can? We're going to talk about a Mishnah and Gemara that deals with those questions. First, we have to talk about some categories of responsibility. Up here you'll see a scale of power and responsibility. As we'll see, how much responsibility you have in a given situation has a lot to do with how much power you have over the situation. So first we'll go through some categories. These are the categories of responsibility from least responsible to most responsible. So we'll start with most responsible because that is the one that is probably familiar to a lot of people. Mazid. What does mazid mean?
Intentional.
Something intentional, something you do that is fully on purpose. Okay, so we'll talk about death cases here because that's the way the Gemara usually talks about them. What is the punishment for killing somebody fully intentionally? What is the punishment for that?
They get killed.
That is correct. You get the death penalty, and since we didn't want to get too graphic here, we'll just show a gavel enforcing how serious it is. Okay, in the middle we have shogeg. Shogeg being an accident, but it's not a regular accident. It's something that you could have done more to prevent, okay? So this is a preventable accident, and the punishment for this is what? Anybody know what the punishment for shogeg is? What happens to somebody who kills somebody by accident?
They get sent somewhere?
They get sent somewhere. They get sent to an ir miklat. They are exiled, okay? And this is sort of a punishment and a protection at the same time. Because having to leave your home can be a big punishment, can be traumatic and alienating. What it also does is allows you to be safe from the relatives of the person you accidentally killed who'd like to take revenge on you. On the least responsible end, we have ones. Okay, this is something for which you have no responsibility at all. It's a complete unpreventable accident. So an example of that would be, let's say I have a house and I own the house, and there's a storm and my house is knocked over and it kills somebody. Assuming that I've kept my house up to safety codes, I have no responsibility for that at all, and I'm completely free. And in the middle we have this gray area between shogeg and mazid. This is something that is an accident, it's not intentional, however, it's really negligent. Your behavior was so irresponsible that you can't be surprised that you ended up injuring someone. For example, if somebody is texting and driving and they hit someone, they certainly didn't mean to do that. However, they could have done a lot to prevent that, and we say that they were negligent in that case. The punishment for that is not really a punishment, but it is a lack of protection. You are not allowed to go to an ir miklat, which means you're essentially a person on the run. The relatives of the person you accidentally killed can come after you and take revenge. Those are our categories moving forward. So we turn to Daf Chad Amud Aleph of Masechet Makot, and the Mishnah says, Hazorek even l'reshut harabim v'harag harei zeh goleh. Somebody who throws a stone into a public area and it kills someone, that person is exiled. So if a person is exiled, that means that they are in the category of shogeg, because that is the punishment for shogeg. But the question is, what kind of rock were you throwing? There's a difference between throwing a rock in public in a way that's dangerous and throwing a rock in public that isn't dangerous, which depends on what kind of rock you're throwing. It depends on what kind of space it is. Is it the kind of space where a lot of people are? Is it the kind of space where no one is? We have to answer those questions. All we know so far is that someone is dead and someone is exiled. So moving forward to the Gemara, we will address these questions. On this page, you'll see a chart that's very typical of the ones that we see in Gemara classes at Mayanot. On the right side, there's a column for words of the Gemara. The middle section has function. The leftmost column has translation. I would ask students on their own in Chavruta to divide up this Gemara into 6 sections, and I would maybe give them some of the sections filled in already to help. So what they would uncover is that here we really have a back and forth. Challenge, answer, challenge, answer, challenge, answer. Where we challenge the statement of the Mishnah, we answer it, we challenge it again, and so forth. Our first challenge on this Mishnah is as follows. L'reshut harabim mazid hu. If I throw a rock into a public space, That's not an accident, that's intentional. Okay, if there's people there, public space means that there are people there. If I throw a rock there, that should be intentional. Now when we say mazed here, we don't really mean mazed, right?
We mean that in between mazed, like as if you were texting and driving.
Right, as if you were texting and driving, right? Because intentional would look more like I went there with the intention of killing someone. That's not what's going on here. So the Gemara is using mazed when it really means karov lemazed. Okay, so we challenge it and we say, how can the Mishnah mean shogeg? It looks like it should really be mazed, or karov lemazed. Answer. Amar Rav Shmuel bar Yitzchak b'soteret kotalo. What was the Mishnah really talking about when it said this? It's not somebody who's simply throwing a rock for no reason. It's somebody who is dismantling a wall. Somebody who's doing a construction project, which means that I'm not just throwing rocks at people for no reason. I'm doing something useful. Therefore, I can now put this back in what category?
Shogeg?
I'm putting it back in shogeg, that's right. However, the Gemara is not satisfied with this because even if you're doing construction, there's still a possibility of somebody getting hurt. So the Gemara continues, B'soteret kotalo, iba ile le'iyune. Even if you are doing a construction project, you have to check if anybody is there. Okay, you have to call out, you have to put up a sign, you have to make sure you're not hitting anybody with that. It should still be, what category?
Shogeg.
If you're doing it, right, if you're doing something and you didn't check if anybody's there, it's a challenge, right? So it should still be karov lemazed. So we answer this and we say, V'soteret kotalo balayla. The reason it's not karov lemazed is that you're doing this at night. So there shouldn't be a lot of people around. This, however, doesn't seem to be good enough because the Gemara continues, Balayla nami iba ile le'iyune. At night, you also have to check if no one's around. You're still, boulders are falling down from your house. You have to make sure that nobody's there. We answer, B'soteret kotalo la'ashpa. It's not that you're just dismantling a wall onto a public street. You're doing it into a giant garbage dump, okay? Which apparently takes us back from karov lemazed back to shogeg, resolving how the Mishnah could have said that. It's not good enough, though, in the end. And to move on to the Gemara, in the Gemara, I would give my students a chart like this, looking for keywords, for munachim, words that have both a translation and a function. And they would look them up in the dictionary to find that hechidami, which appears in our next Gemara, means what is the case of this, its function being a question. They would also find that lo tzricha ela means it is needed in a case of, the function of which is an answer. Once having uncovered these munachim, students would be able to divide the Gemara into two sections, question and answer. They would look for the phrase hechidami in the first section to determine that's a question, and the rest of it would be an answer. So our Gemara looks back at what it just said about how what we're talking about is somebody dismantling a wall into a garbage heap and asks the following question. Hai ashpa hechidami. This garbage heap, what kind of garbage heap is it? Ish chliche barabim posheahu. If there are a lot of people here, what category should it be? There's tons of people walking around.
Mazed.
That should be karov lemazed again. Okay, that's negligence. Poshea is another word for negligence. I lo shachiche barabim anusu. If there's nobody there, I should have no responsibility. It's like going to a giant landfill. Why would I expect anybody to be there? Okay, so either it's karov lemazed or it's ones, but it certainly doesn't look like it can be shogeg. We resolve it as follows. Amar Rav Papa, lo tzricha ela la'ashpa ha'asuya lipanot ba balayla, ve'ein asuya lipanot ba bayom, ve'ika dimikre v'yativ. Rav Papa says, what were we talking about with this case in the Mishnah? We were talking about a garbage pile that's used as kind of a public bathroom at night. It's not used that way during the day. However, sometimes during the day, people go there. So, the person was dismantling a wall into a garbage heap that's normally used at night, but isn't used during the day, except sometimes is used during the day. What time do you think that person was doing that?
At night?
They were actually not doing it at night, because if it were at night, it would be what?
Oh, then it would be very public.
Then it would be very public.
Right.
That would be karov lemazed. So they're doing it during the day to a place that's normally used at night. Kind of like if I am doing something dangerous in the school of a hallway at night. Sometimes there are people there, usually there aren't. This is the opposite. There are people there at night, but not so much during the day. So the Gemara continues to explain, Posheya lo have daha eina asuya lipanot ba bayom. it's not negligent. It's not karov l'mezid because it's not generally used during the day. Ones nami lo have zaha'ika demakri bi'ativ. It's also not totally an accident because sometimes there are people who are there. So if we turn back to our original Mishnah, Hazorik Evan Reshut Harab v'harag harei zeh goleh, somebody who throws a rock into a public place and killed someone, this person is exiled. It turns out that we're talking about a more specific case than we thought. It's not just throwing any rock into any public place. It's doing something that has a purpose, tearing down a wall. It's doing it in a place where people are usually not present. In this case, a daytime place that's usually used at night. In that case, the person is considered shogeg because he did not do everything he could. It's not a total accident because people can be around, and you have to expect for people to be around. But it's not worse than an accident because you don't expect a lot of people to be around in general. And so we've taken this general statement and we've narrowed it, and in so doing, we've not just uncovered what the Mishnah means, we've also uncovered some of the values that govern the halachic system. We live in a world surrounded by people and we have responsibilities to those people. We have to make sure that our actions are not damaging or injuring the people around us. And that's what we can uncover in a lot of these texts that we do.